In the heart of a bustling metropolis, where skyscrapers towered above and the streets pulsed with the rhythm of life, there lived a young woman named Jane. She has lived in the city all her life. She had a friend named Rika. They both met in high school, and since then, both of them became very close. Both of them graduated the same year, and after their graduation, Jane was very lucky to get a good job that offered her a house and a car. She was very comfortable and was doing well for herself. But Rika, on the other hand, was not that lucky. She was working as a cashier in a supermarket, and she was not able to get a good job like her friend. In the course of her work, she met a young man named Dan, and they became friends. Along the line, Dan proposed marriage to her and she accepted because she said to herself, "Since I don't have money like my friend, let me marry so that at least it will be what I've achieved." When she broke the news to her friend Jane, she was overjoyed and happy for her dear friend. During the marriage preparation, Jane supported them with a huge sum of money that took care of almost half of the total expenses they made. After the marriage ceremony, the couple started living together as husband and wife. And shortly after, Rika became pregnant, and in due time, she gave birth to a baby boy. 2 years later, she gave birth to a baby girl. Jane, on the other hand, was busy with her work and making money because, as the first child in her family, every financial responsibility rested on her shoulders. She was the sole sponsor of 2 of her siblings in the higher institution, and her mother, who was suffering from a terminal ailment, was admitted in the hospital. It was about this time that Rika's daughter became so ill and was diagnosed of having a hole in the heart. Rika and Dan, her husband, were told that the only way it can be corrected is through a heart surgery, and it would cost them a lot of money. Rika and her husband were devastated, as they obviously cannot afford such an amount. They started running helter-skelter looking for where to get the money, even if it's to borrow, but they couldn't find. At this point, Rika went to meet her friend Jen, hoping to get help from her. But Jen said to her, "My friend Rika, I really wish I can be of help, but as it is now, I can't." Jane, not wanting to let her friend know about her own challenges, gave her friend some money and encouraged her to be of good cheer that God will see her through. This didn't go down well with Rika, as she was disappointed at the amount Jane gave her. She thanked her and left. As she was going, she said to herself, "I know that Jane has this money, but she didn't want to give it to me. She's jealous of me because I'm married and she's not. I have 2 kids, but she doesn't have even one. That's why she doesn't want to give me, so that my child will die. But my child will not die. Jane," I said, "my child will not die." When she got home and showed her husband, he started jumping and thanking God that at least they would add it to the one he was able to get and go and make a deposit for the commencement of the surgery. Rika became furious. She started talking to her husband to see reasons why he should not rejoice. But her husband left her and went straight to the hospital. 2 days later, the surgery was conducted and it was successful, and their baby started feeling better. but they couldn't be discharged because of the hospital bill they are owing. So they stayed in the hospital for 3 months. Jane and her friend always visit them at the hospital. She bought them things and also gave them money. But Rika was angry with her friend and hated her because she said to herself that Jane has the money to clear the hospital bill for them. But because she's jealous of her, she chose not to. The more they stayed in the hospital, the more she hated her, to the extent that she became bitter towards her. But whenever Jane visits, she will force a smile and pretend that all is well. Jane noticed that her friend was sometimes cold towards her. She wanted to ask her at some point, but decided to wave it off, saying maybe it's because of the situation at hand that made her behave so. In their 4th month of staying in the hospital, a good Samaritan who always goes to hospitals to visit sick people and pay off people's debt met them at the hospital. Out of his magnanimity, he settled the bills and also gave her some money to take care of the child. They went home rejoicing and thanking God. But when she remembered her friend Jane, she became so bitter towards her, for she believed that it's because of jealousy that she doesn't want to help them, and for that she will teach her a lesson she will never forget. 2 days later, Rika, out of the money she was given to take care of her baby, traveled out of the city to a village called Ute to meet a native doctor she has been seeing online. When she met the man and the man asked what the problem was, she narrated to us. I have a friend who is very, very rich, but she's jealous of me because I'm married with children and she's not. She pretended to be my friend but wished my child dead. When I went to her before my child's surgery to help us out, she only gave me peanuts, hoping that my child would die since we can't afford the money. But thankfully, the surgery was done. When we deposited some money, then after the surgery, she left me and my baby at the hospital for close to 4 months, knowing fully well that she can easily pay off the hospital bill for us. But she didn't. So, sir, since she doesn't want my happiness, she will never be happy. I will allow her to get married, but I don't want her to have a child. The man said, okay, I'll do as you wish. After doing some incantation and enchantment, the man told her it was done. She paid the man and went home. Months later, Jane's man proposed marriage to her. She accepted, and they got married. Shortly after they got married, she conceived. She was very happy and thankful to God. She called her friend Rika and joyfully broke the news to her. She rejoiced with her and congratulated her. One morning, when the pregnancy was 8 weeks old, when she went to take her bath, she saw blood stain on her underwear. She was shocked. She rushed to see her doctor. He ran some tests on her and told her she was losing her pregnancy. She asked, "What can be done, doctor?" But the doctor replied, "Nothing, because the pregnancy stopped developing at the 5th week and the body is getting rid of it because it has spoiled." Jane felt so bad. When she got back home and told her husband, he was devastated, but he consoled his wife, telling her that God knows the best. She called her friend Rika and told her. Rika told her not to worry, that another one will come. When she ended the call, Rika immediately called the native doctor and told him that what they did worked, that her friend just lost her pregnancy. The native doctor told Rika that he knows his onion in the work, that he never disappoints his clients. Months later, Jane conceived again. She started antenatal immediately, hoping for the better. But on the 8th week of the pregnancy, she lost it. Tests were conducted to know the cause of that, but none was found. This happened again and again and again. And in 2 years, she lost 6 pregnancies. This was the time her doctor became very angry and said, "Jane, I am a medical doctor, but it is time to pray. This is no longer ordinary. This is a pattern that needs to be broken, and it's only God that can intervene." Jane went home determined to do whatever it would take for this to stop. She started studying her Bible and praying. As time went on, she became closer to God and prayed more. One night, as she was praying, she saw rays of light shining in the room. As she looked on, the light became brighter. As she was wondering what was going on, a voice spoke to her from the rays of light, saying, "Do not be afraid, Jane. The Lord is with you. The Lord will fight your battle and you will hold your peace, for the siege has been broken." Jane, thinking it was a dream, realized herself when the light vanished, and she looked and saw her husband sleeping. She fell on her knees and started thanking God. For no reason she could explain, this is one thing she never told her friend Rika. Anytime she wants to let her know about the encounter she had, something will just come up and disrupt it. Before the end of that month, Jane conceived again. But this time, it was different. The fear and anxiety that came with other pregnancies has disappeared. She became more joyful and cheerful. And for some reasons she couldn't still explain, she couldn't tell her friend. One morning, the 4th week of Jane's pregnancy, Rika prepared her children for school. She usually gave them tea for breakfast. But that day, she gave them rice and fish. When they were eating, her son mistakenly swallowed a bone and started crying, "Mommy, bone, mommy, bone." She rushed to him to see what she could do, but surprisingly, the boy started coughing out blood. Rushed him to the hospital, and the doctor told them that the bone entered a very bad and delicate place and only a surgery can help. They paid for the surgery and it was done. But the boy lost the ability to speak. He can hear, but only communicates with signs. Weeks later, the surgery spot started bringing out pus. He was placed on medication, but the place started decaying. He was taken back to the hospital, and all of a sudden, he went into coma. He was in a coma for 7 months. Jane had a very smooth pregnancy experience. 2 days before her due date, she fell into labor and was delivered of a set of twins, a boy and a girl. When she was settled in a ward, she called her friend to break the good news to her. But her husband picked the call and she heard her friend wailing in the background. She asked what the problem was. The man said, "Our son died 30 minutes ago." Jane became speechless. She wanted to go, but she couldn't. So she prayed for her friend. Days later, the boy was buried. Jane went home with her beautiful babies and life went on. 2 months later, Rika's daughter wanted to go down the stairs when she slipped and fell. What was supposed to be a minor accident mysteriously affected her spine, which made her confined to a wheelchair. That was when it dawned to Rika that something was wrong. She went back to the native doctor and explained to him everything that has happened and asked for a solution so that her daughter would not die. The native doctor told her that what they did has been reversed, and this is the repercussion. But the only thing that will save her daughter's life and health is to confess and ask for forgiveness. Confess? I can't do that, said Rika. Then be ready to bury your child again, replied the native doctor. Rika came home devastated, and whenever she sees her daughter battling to live, her heart breaks. She then decided to confess, but didn't know how to go about it. At night, she woke her husband up and narrated her story to him. Her husband, not knowing how to react or what to say, left her in the bedroom and spent the night in the living room. The next morning, without saying a word to her, he packed his belongings and left the house. Rika, not knowing what else to do, went to meet her pastor and explained everything to him and pleaded with him to accompany him to Jane's house. Her pastor refused initially, but after so much pleading from her, he accepted to accompany her. The next day, Rika and her daughter arrived at Jane's house with her pastor. Jane was surprised to see her in the company of a man of God and her countenance. She asked, "Rika, my friend, you're not looking good. Hope all is well." The pastor replied instead by introducing himself and asked Rika to tell her story. Halfway into the story, Jane busted out in tears because she remembered the trauma she went through during those miscarriages. Not allowing her to finish her story, she ordered them out of her house. But her husband held her back and pleaded with her to allow her finish her story. Rika finished and asked for forgiveness. Jane's husband pitied the poor girl who was suffering because of her mother's sins. Alongside the pastor, begged her to forgive. Jane tearfully forgave and prayed for the poor child's recovery. She told Rika that was the end of their friendship. Rika went home feeling relieved. But when she got home, she met her husband with divorce papers asking her to sign. Rika pleaded, but he said to her, "If you can do this to your friend, Rika, you waste me one day." She had no option than to sign the papers. And that was how, out of her wickedness, she lost her son, a good friend that is rare to find, and her marriage. What a life. There are lessons to learn from this story, but one thing I want to leave with you is, as you journey through life, please learn to be prayerful. You can drop what you learned at the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.